It's been almost 32 years since Australians were blown away by a supercharged black Falcon. You might remember that a somewhat angry chap named Max was driving. The new FPV GT-P, well, it's not quite as in your face as a Mad Max Interceptor, but it's got to be faster. This thing smashes 100 k's an hour in under 5 seconds. It's the fastest Falcon you can own this side of a V8 supercar. And under here is a work of automotive art. This is the most powerful Coyote V8 in the entire Ford empire. It makes 335 kilowatts, but the big story is the torque. 570 newton meters from 2200 RPM all the way to almost 6000. It's just a magnificent device for turning petrol into speed and sound. And if you think we've doctored the sound on this report, I've got to tell you, everything you're about to hear is being manufactured by this. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I've had this car for 3 days now, and I don't know what I like better, the crackle on overrun from the exhaust or that supercharger whine that just still comes through the cabin. It's fantastic. If you've ever wondered about the whole muscle cars, what are they? Question, here's what they are. 0 to license in a shredder in 4 and a bit seconds. It's sensational. FPV is a joint venture between ProDrive and Ford, and that's what made this engine possible. What the boys at ProDrive did was go and source an Eaton supercharger, and Australian engineering legend Ron Harrop designed the casting that keeps the supercharger low in the V. The interesting thing about this supercharger is that it blows air up into the black box for distribution further down later on. One of the things you just might not like is the manual gear change. It's a little bit 1953 Blitzwagon, not a precision instrument. If you want to, if you're not that invested in driving a manual, tick the box for the ZF 6-speed automatic because it is sensational. The interior, it's mostly muscle car, a little bit taxi. But the best thing about it, it's got to be the seats. They're just wonderfully supportive. They're leather and suede combination. The leather's perforated. The headrests are even embroidered with GT-P, you know, in case you forget. These seats are so good that I wouldn't mind sitting at one in my office 24/7. Performance potential like this whips you into the next bend in a big hurry, so it's very confidence inspiring to know you've got those dirty big Brembo brakes on all 4 corners. This is the kind of car that commands respect. You have to be on the ball, you have to be quite judicious with your right foot on the throttle, otherwise it's going to bite you. If you drive this car long enough and hard enough, the bottom line, you're just going to want a bit more rubber on the road. You just can't drive this car without having a rolling series of Mad Max flashbacks. You've got that wonderful supercharger whine every time you put your foot down. You've got to keep looking over the big fat bulge in the bonnet. And if you had to round up a bunch of bikies, no problem in a car like this. There's a few different ways to get yourself into a car with more than 330 kilowatts. You could spend almost 150 grand and buy a C63 AMG Mercedes-Benz. And for that sort of money, could have two of these.